Good afternoon, my lovely followers. It's your queen, Tara. We are back again with yet another awesome video. And I have an update for all of you today. Yesterday, I'm sure all of you are aware of the incident in Minneapolis where a woman was gunned down by the Gestapo as she attempted to flee. She was murdered by the Gestapo, and now I have more information about her. That woman was part of the LGBT community. She was a lesbian, and she had a 6-year-old son who is supposedly now in the custody of his grandfather, who is attempting, I have heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, this is just what I've heard, I could be wrong, but I have heard that his grandfather is attempting to remove him from the custody of his remaining mother, the woman who was murdered, her partner. I have heard that his grandfather is reportedly attempting to remove the boy from her custody, which is obviously terrible. Obviously, this boy is being taken away from his family, taken away from his mother, after his other mother was murdered by that Gestapo agent. And this is obviously a tragedy. This is obviously terrible. It's like the boy should be allowed to go home with his remaining parent, just like he would if they were a straight couple. Like, if the boy had a father and his mother was murdered, then obviously he would be allowed to go home with his father. The fact that the couple happened to be gay should not change that. Like, he should still get to go home with his remaining parent. And if this is true, which I honestly kind of hope I'm wrong and that this isn't really happening, but if it is happening, like, it's really bad. It is really bad if this is true. Yeah. The tragic incident yesterday, I feel like that prompted me to make this video, because I feel like we have to discuss, since what happened yesterday, the tragic incident with the Gestapo, I feel like we have to discuss police militarization in the United States, and how Israel has been funding the militarization of American police, specifically training. Israel has been training American police to be trigger-happy killers. I would encourage all my lovely followers to look at my anti-Zionist playlist. I have quite a few videos on it that I think would be quite eye-opening regarding the Israeli training of American police, the Zionist training of American police that has contributed to the militarization of our police force. I have many good videos on that, and that's what I want to discuss today. That's the topic I would like to discuss with you all today, is the ongoing militarization of the American police force. This incident in Minneapolis is just the latest example. If you do a deep dive, you can find literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of examples from across the country of police violence, of unjustified police violence, unjustified use of force, police brutality. Like, it's rampant within our system, more so than most others. And there's a lot of reasons behind this. There's a whole plethora of reasons behind this. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with training and how the United States does not require all that much training to be a cop. Like, there are countries where you have to like literally study and train for like over a year to be a police officer. Sometimes upwards of 2 years, I believe, in some European countries. Like, it's not like America where they just get like a few months, just a crash course, and then they're good. It's like, no, in Europe, if you want to be a cop, you want to be the police, you want to have that authority, you actually have to earn it and study and know what you're doing. You have to train to de-escalate, you have to know the law. It's almost like being a lawyer, like you have to actually have these skills. And America does not do that. America does not train their police well enough as actual police officers. I'm not referring to the militarization training. I'm not referring to the sort of training they get, which is this violent, heavily armed police militarization, this training they receive. Like, I'm referring to de-escalation tactics. Like, police should be trained in that. Police should be trained to de-escalate. But they're not. Like, in America, they're particularly combative, especially when you compare them to the police in Europe and other places. Like, American police are, like, noticeably combative. And again, like, I also have a playlist, MACAB. Most American cops are you-know-whats. You know, it's like ACAB, but with MACAB. That's mine. The reason I say MACAB is I don't feel like all cops are evil. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's not good people on the police force, because there certainly are. But there's a whole lot more bad ones, and unfortunately the good ones don't really do enough to get rid of the bad ones. And there's a whole lot of reasons. Like, I already mentioned, training is one of the reasons why we have such a problem. Why we need proper training. Not the militarized violent tactics, but proper education on the law, proper de-escalation tactics. Maybe even to some extent like mental health training, like understanding psychology and mental health so they can better deal with people who are having breakdowns. Because that's when most people interact with the police, either when they break the law or when they're having some sort of mental breakdown. And it's really helpful if we could give them the tools to be able to handle this without resorting to violence. That's one of the many reasons. It's just, this country in particular, we also have just a corruption problem. Like, the entire system is corrupt. Every branch of it, every branch of our government, the courts, the military, all of it is just corrupt. Corruption is just rampant within our system. It absolutely is. Like, we have a very corrupt system. And it's because we have a society that's based off money. Like the thing I mentioned the other day with, and I keep bringing this up, but like the hemp ban, like how politicians such as Mitch McConnell can be bribed to change the law. Like, that is a sign of a corrupt society, and that's one of many problems. It's not just the fact that police in the US are undertrained. It's also the fact that the system as a whole is hopelessly corrupt. I also think we have to take into consideration the history of racism within policing, and specifically the history of racism within the war on drugs, which is primarily started not just as a way for mega corporations to take out their competition, but also as a way to crack down on minorities, because the black population was more likely to use drugs than the white population, and those laws were created as a way to crack down on them and on the hippies on the anti-war protesters, if you look at the history of the war on drugs and how that has affected American policing. I really think we have to, like, I really think this is an important topic. The militarization of our police. And I keep using that term, like I'm referring to specific training by Israel, specific, like, violent, not just training, it's an entire mentality. It's just like Some police departments literally think they are at war with the public. Like, that's a completely wrong way of thinking. It's like, instead of protecting and serving, they act like they're at war with the public. And that's a problem. Like, it's this mentality that comes from allowing a Zionist occupier apartheid state to train your police, to train your peace force. Which police are not supposed to be violent. They're not the military. They're there to enforce the laws and keep public order. And ideally, I know they're not legally required to protect the public. The Supreme Court has ruled on that, but in an ideal society, they would be. But we don't live in an ideal society. We live in a very corrupt, capitalist, dystopian hellscape. One that is rapidly circling the drain as we speak. Very rapidly circling the drain. That's what this incident is. This incident in Minneapolis has just served to highlight the issue. And honestly, like, I feel like I've been needing to talk about this issue for a long time. I never really got around to doing it until today. You know? But what happened yesterday really made me decide that I have to talk about this. Even though I had kind of originally intended to save this topic for a Friday video. Like, I felt like what happened yesterday kind of forced my hand to where we have to discuss this. We have to discuss the militarization of our police force and why the Zionist training, overly violent, forceful training, like the kind taught by Israel, should be banned. It should be completely banned within the United States of America. We do not need a foreign Zionist settler state, a Zionist apartheid state, training our cops. We do not need that. Like, it's a toxic influence, you know. It turns our police into occupiers, and that's not what we want. That's not what you want in a civilized society, for your police to be occupiers. But we don't live in a civilized society. We live in a corrupt, draconian empire that is rapidly approaching its expiration date. And yesterday's incident just highlights that. Just highlights the fact that we are rapidly circling the drain. That this empire does not have much longer, honestly. Like, I don't see how it can continue very much longer, because, like, this society is getting worse by the day. Like, more and more incidents we see of police brutality. And I'm not sure if defunding the police, a lot of people recommend defunding them, but I'm not sure if defunding them is really a good option either. I feel like retraining them, you know, having stronger requirements before you get a badge and a gun and the authority to potentially murder people or shoot people. I feel like having, like, more training and giving them access to better tactics, to de-escalation, to psychology and things they can use aside from shooting people, and also to do things like ending the war on drugs. I feel like if we ended the racist war on drugs and allowed grown adults to decide what to put in their own bodies, then I feel like that would greatly help us, you know? I feel like that would greatly help the tension between the public and the police force if we would stop doing these things. Like, if we could have law enforcement actually fight crime and not harass and arrest and assault grown people for what substances they choose to put in their own bodies in the so-called free country. And the topic of this topic is a really big topic. It's a really interesting topic. And I'm going to try to cover everything about it in one video. The topic of police militarization. But I feel like I have a lot of stuff on my playlist that addresses this issue as well. Like, a lot of super lengthy videos that discuss the topic in detail that you can go check out. specifically on my anti-Zionist playlist, where we discuss the impacts of Israeli Zionist apartheid state training on American police forces. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure I cover all of it, you know? I know I sound like I'm rambling a bit, and I am, but I'm just trying to make sure I do a good job of, like, covering all of it, of this complex issue. Because yesterday's incident, like the tragic murder of this woman, has really, like, opened a lot of people's eyes to, like, a big problem within our system. And really many problems, because, like, it's more than just the militarization of police. It is more than just... It's also corruption. It's also so many other things that feed into this as to why we have this problem within our society. I mean, in America, let's face it, like, the police are pretty much just the enforcers of the oligarch class. That's what they are. Like, our laws are not based on morality. Our laws are based on what the capitalist class, what's good for the oligarchs, what's good for the 1%. That's what the laws in this dying corporate empire are based on. They're not based upon the public good. They're not based upon any, like, sense of morality. No, they're based upon who can pay to have them written. That's what they're based upon. And the police are pretty much the enforcers of the ruling class. They're pretty much the modern redcoats. Like how we saw the redcoats coming here in 1776 to enforce the British law. Like, well, cops are pretty much the modern redcoats. And it's pretty baffling to me how so many conservatives who are pro-2A broadly support the police, even though a lot of those same cops would be the ones to kick in their door and take their precious firearms away if they were ever declared illegal. They're going to be the ones showing up with an MRAP, with a SWAT team, to take your rights away. So why conservatives have such blanket support for them, despite the fact that, in many ways, they're against the principles they claim to believe in. Like, it's just baffling to me how this can be a thing. How conservatives never stop to think why having a militarized, violent police force is a problem. And I also feel like I have to tack on at the end of this video, I have to talk about the issue of swatting. That's also a symptom of the disease of militarized policing. Because now you have this phenomenon called swatting, where the cops will, like, they'll receive a fake phone call and show up at somebody's house with a SWAT team. This is a prank. I say prank in parentheses, because it's not really a prank, it's a crime, and no one should do it. It's a waste of resources, it's a crime, and no one should do it because it's not funny. It's not a joke, it's a crime. And swatting is yet another side effect of militarized policing, of having a literal occupying force within your nation driving around in MRAPs with machine guns. Like, this is no longer just like the friendly deputy. This is no longer like Andy Griffith walking around Mayberry. This is no longer just a friendly deputy. No, we have a literal occupying force, a quasi-military force within our nation. And it's the police department. It is the militarized police. They are the modern redcoats. They are the enforcers of the oligarch class. And ICE is a particularly egregious example of that. Because, like, ICE, they're like the modern Gestapo. And ICE, I think their existence is entirely unconstitutional. I mean, whether it's unconstitutional or not would depend upon what your opinions are, my lovely followers. But to me, I think it's unconstitutional. And And why I think that, I think, can be explained in a video by Tucker Blackstone. A video that's entitled "Deport Illegal Immigrants, The Truth May Hurt Your Feelings." That video explains why really ICE should not exist. Like, there should not be a federal immigration force. It should be up to each individual state who they let in. We need to have state sovereignty. We need to take power away from this bloated federal empire controlled by the oligarchs and give power to our local municipalities, our local state governments, to decide these things. It should not be the state. I mean, it should not be the feds. It should not be this big bloated empire deciding who comes in and who goes out. No, it should be up to the states who can live within their borders. It absolutely should be. It should be up to the states. It should not be up to the feds. And I know not everyone's going to agree with that. There are going to be different interpretations of what the law should be, but like I hold the view that the states should be the ones to decide that. And according to some old rulings, the Supreme Court at one point agreed with me. And again, I would highly recommend Tucker Blackstone's video, because this is really fascinating when you look at the early history of this and how the federal government tried to do this and was stopped. Like, ICE is unconstitutional and should be abolished. They're part of the power structure. They're part of the oligarchs' control over us and our lives. Okay, I think I'm gonna slowly start to draw this video to a close. I know I've been talking for like 20 minutes and I probably should bring this to a close soon. I think I've said most of what I want to say regarding ICE and the militarization of American policing. I don't think I've missed anything. If I did, I can always make a follow-up video at some point. But yeah, I hope all of you found this video informative and entertaining. Please like and subscribe and all that streamer stuff. Thank you for your support if you watched this video, especially if you watched it to the end and listened to me rant for like 20 minutes. Thank you for that. Thank you for your support. If you could hit the like button and subscribe, that would be awesome. And we're off.